Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théières, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ma fleur sous la pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, qu'il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte.
Savannah asked President Trump about his own bout with COVID, with Trump revealing that he may have had some sort of lung infection while sick with the virus. And the president also refused to answer a key question regarding his own testing.
Did you test the day of the debate?
I don't know. I don't even remember. I test all the time. But I can tell you this. After the debate, like, I guess a day or so, I think it was Thursday evening, maybe even late Thursday evening, I tested positive. That's when I first found out about it.
Back to the debate, because the debate commission's rules, it was the honor system, would be that you would come with a negative test. You say you don't know if you got a test on the day of the debate?
I have no problem. Again, the doctors do it. I don't ask them. I test all the time, and
did you take a test, though, on the day of the debate?
You know, if you ask the doctor, they'll give you a perfect answer.
Yeah.
But they take a test, and I leave, and I go about my business.
Did you take a test on the day of the debate, I guess, is the bottom line?
I probably did, and I took a test the day before and the day before, and I was always in great shape. And I was in great shape for the debate. And it was only after the debate, like a period of time after the debate, that I said, that's interesting, and they took a test, and it tested positive.
So just to button it up, do you take a test every single day?
No, but I take a lot of tests.
Okay, and you don't know if you took a test the day of the debate?
Possibly I did, possibly I didn't.
Yeah, by the way, before I came up here, I took another test. I've been taking every day, the deep test, you know, the one that go in both. And because I wanted to be able, if I had not passed that test, I didn't want to come here and not, expose anybody. And I just think it's just decency to be able to determine whether or not you're clear. And it's not. I'm less concerned about me, but then the people, the guys at the cameras, the people working in the Secret Service guys you drive up with, all those people. And so yes, I believe he'll do that.
It's just about decency. That really does really lay it out about as well as it could be laid out. But poor Donald, he doesn't know when he took a test. Poor Donald doesn't even know how his lungs are. Isn't that something, a hypochondriac? I've only actually eaten with him one time, and before his food came out, he had a stack of wipes that he and Melania went through, and they wiped themselves down, and it was quite a obsessive thing. So I'm supposed to believe that guy that was that freaked out about his hands had abnormalities in his lungs. I don't know. So he doesn't know about when he got his test, last negative test, he doesn't know about the state of his lungs, the health of his lungs.
If he was tested on debate day.
He doesn't know if he was tested on the debate day. He doesn't know about QAnon. During the debate, we heard he didn't know about the Proud Boys. In his last campaign, he said he didn't know who David Duke was. He didn't know about the Klan. He didn't know if there was a pedophilia ring run by cannibals in the government. A lot of things, Mika, that Donald Trump doesn't know.
Yeah, he just seems confused about everything.
He is confused.
Or lying through his teeth. President Trump last night said he denounces white supremacy, but then, as Willie mentioned, refused to condemn QAnon, a right-wing conspiracy theory that the FBI believes is a potential domestic terror threat.
Let me ask you about QAnon. It is this theory that Democrats are a satanic pedophile ring and that you are the savior of that. Now, can you just once and for all state that that is completely not true and that disavow QAnon in its entirety?
I know nothing about QAnon.
I just told you.
I know very little. You told me, but what you tell me doesn't necessarily make it fact. I hate to say that. I know nothing about it. I do know they are very much against pedophilia. They fight it very hard, but I know nothing about it.
They believe it is a satanic cult run by the deep
state. Study the subject. I'll tell you what I do know about. I know about Antifa, and I know about the radical left, and I know how violent they are and how vicious they are, and I know how they're burning down cities run by Democrats, not run by Republicans.
Republican Senator Ben Sass said, quote, QAnon is nuts, and real leaders call conspiracy theories conspiracy theories.
He may be
Why
right.
not just say it's crazy and not true?
He may be right. I just don't know about QAnon.
You do know.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know.
Let me ask you another thing.
Let's waste a whole show. You start off with white supremacy. I denounce it. You start off with something else. Let's go. Keep asking me these questions.
I do have one more.
Let me just tell you what I do hear about it is they are very strongly against pedophilia, and I agree with that. I mean, I do agree with that, and I agree with it.
But there's not a satanic pedophile cult being run by.
I know nothing
about that. You don't know
that?
Okay.
No, I don't know that.
You just this
week. Neither do you know that.
Okay, just this week
why aren't you asking me about Antifa? Why aren't you asking me about the radical left?
Because you're
why
volunteering.
Why aren't you asking Joe Biden questions about why doesn't he condemn Antifa? Why does he say it doesn't exist?
Because you're here before me.
No, that's so cute. Antifa exists. They're vicious, they're violent, they kill people, and they're burning down our cities. And they happen to be radical left.
We're actually not distracted.
Cute.
We're not distracted. He's running away, John Heilman. It is remarkable. I will paraphrase what Jake Tapper said yesterday about Donald Trump continuing to retweet a conspiracy theory saying that SEAL Team 6 did not in fact kill Osama bin Laden, but covered it up, that Osama bin Laden is still alive. It's nice to know that we can still be shocked by the depths to which this man will go to pick up the most extreme and dangerous people in America. And so in this case, Trump claims he knows absolutely nothing about QAnon. Mm-hmm. Does not know about this satanic cult of cannibals running the government. But then he goes on and repeats time and again that they're against pedophilia. So actually, he does seem to know about it. But you can go back to the Sunday interview he had. I believe it was on CNN right before Super Tuesday in 2016, where he repeatedly claimed he didn't know who David Duke was. He repeatedly claimed that he wasn't going to criticize the Ku Klux Klan because he knew nothing about it. We knew, of course, that was a lie. He had criticized David Duke repeatedly in the past, even in the 2000 election. But here, Donald Trump again lets America know that he is going to offer aid and comfort to a conspiracy theory, to a group that our own government, our own FBI says poses a real risk to American safety.
It is Friday, the 16th of October of 2020, and you are in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. I am your chef de cuisine, Justice Putnam. Gunner, the English bulldog, is our snoozing sous chef. And our daily special is Blue Moon Spirits Fridays, because we are all Nighthawks in the Diner of Life, indeed. Well, I wish someone had asked Judge Barrett, is the French 77 the most balanced cocktail in the history of cocktails? That's a yes or no. We don't need an analysis. We don't need a critique. All right. So she couldn't answer climate change, yes or no. Oh, she had to say, it's up for debate. No, it's not. Just like there is no debate about the French 77 being the most balanced cocktail in the history of cocktails. No debate. Okay. There's some outliers out there, of course, but still. 99.999999% of cocktail scientists concur. And they would. After they've tasted the French 77, then you'll know. Well, I'll tell you something else that didn't happen last night. A calm Donald Trump town hall. Boy, talk about a study in contrasts. Now, there are some who were very concerned. Oh, a Joe Biden presidency with all these long-winded answers about policy. Oh, it's going to be so boring. It'll be a ratings disaster. Listen, we're not in it for the ratings, okay? And if you're looking for ratings, I think that it'll be okay because Kamala will be burning down the house every night. And we don't have to worry because she'll be able to get some policy out there too. So I wouldn't worry about the ratings as if that is an issue to begin with. But some people have made it so. And I did not turn on NBC or MSNBC while that guy had his town hall. I'm glad Savannah Guthrie did her job. Which is quite funny because the Trump people, the maggots, are all up in arms about how terrible she was. She was so cute. So cute. When all she was doing was just asking questions and the guy wouldn't answer. Or he equivocated. He just dissembled. It's like what Donald Trump does. Oh, I think the term is lie. He just lied and he bullied and he bellowed and he sweat. That guy is not well, okay? I know the steroids have him moving and keeping him up, but I think that guy, there's something going on there. And maybe people in his camp are pushing him. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Burn the candle at both ends. It'll be good. Yeah, I guess. Maybe that's the only way that they can keep him in check, because at some point he's going to collapse. Which reminds me, I'm asking this every day. Is there a proof of life from Bill Barr yet? We keep hearing about everybody's upset at Bill Barr because of Bill Barr doing this and Bill Barr doing that. But has Bill Barr showed himself since he went into quarantine? We've heard spokespeople for Bill Barr, but we have not seen Bill Barr. What's up? Well, I don't know. Maybe there's an OLC memo that says that Bill Barr can't, I don't know, go to the great beyond during a pandemic when there's work to be done. Chris Christie seems to be rather contrite now. I wish he would have been woken up back in April. You know, now he's saying, here it is October. Now he's saying, oh yeah, masks. Gotta wear masks. You know, you could have said that in April when like the rest of us were doing. And all we got were, oh, you're just afraid. You're afraid. I got that a lot. I'm a coward because I want to wear a mask. I don't know why protecting someone else from getting a disease makes that person a coward. In the small transactional mind of the maggot, I guess they can make that association. I can't seem to make it. But if all you, if your whole meaning of life is to essentially bellow and bully, yeah, caring for another person, that's not part of the agenda, not one bit. Well, there's so much going on. You know, we got that. I still try to figure out this Hunter Biden story. I really can't figure it out. I mean, it doesn't. I really don't get it. Now, Hunter Biden was living in Los Angeles, and somehow he decided to fly 3,000 miles to where? Delaware, New Hampshire, where? To get 3 MacBook Pros repaired at a repair shop run by a blind guy at the insanely low price of $85. And then he drunk drove from the airport to the repair shop. Okay. Sounds to me like there's a basement at Comet Pizza they want to sell you, too. Jeez. And eyes being lapped up, Trump wouldn't essentially deny the QAnon conspiracy because, they're against pedophilia. Yeah, well, I got to tell you, when there's a pedophilia or an investigation for a missing kid, and you need to find the pedophilia or the pedophile who has probably taken the kid, evidence shows, history shows, precedent shows that you better start looking at the people that you don't know in on the investigation that just show up. Like the criminals going back to the scene of the crime. How many times have we heard that the pedophile who did away with the kid was part of the volunteer group that was out there scouring the fields? So when Trump says they're against pedophilia, he ran a teenage beauty contest where he walked in on these young girls. I guess you could call them women, but I think they're girls. Because his excuse was, well, I'm the owner of the pageant. I can do anything I want. No, you can't. Because apparently decency isn't part of the maggot mind construct. Apparently. So QAnon is okay because he thinks they're trying to find pedophiles. No, they're disrupting the finding of pedophiles with their stupid conspiracy theory. Anyway, pedophile is, just another way of saying enter. Whatever it is that tickles the lizard pituitary gland in whatever pituitary gland brain the maggot has, that's all they're doing. Could be anything. Like I said, it could be enter, it could be, some terrible word for Latin people or Asian people or which reminds me, Giuliani was somehow sent out some anti-Asian stuff on his, an audio or whatever. What is up with Rudy? Now, his daughter was on Rachel last night. She's a filmmaker in Los Angeles, and she's endorsing Joe Biden. Now, she wouldn't really say, she wasn't going against her dad. I mean, it's her dad. But she's quite concerned. Okay? And she did bring up this whole mob mentality that he seems to have fallen into with this administration. I don't know, it's a chicken and egg kind of consideration to me. I don't really want to debate which came first because I never trusted Rudy to begin with. Like I said, if you're looking for the pedophile that took the kid, look for the volunteers, beating the bushes. Rudy was going after the mob? Really? Or was he going after certain mobsters so that he could get a little kickback from the Russians, and now they've taken over? And now they have Rudy doing the dirty work. And now they have the New York Post. Oh, and even Jack had to relent. I guess they made Jack an offer he couldn't refuse. Had to put links to the New York Post story, even though it's Russian agitprop. They have a constitutional right to give us Russian agitprop when Russia and Putin have declared war on us. I think that's called treason, isn't it? There's no First Amendment guarantee for that. All right. What's on the rest of the menu here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy? Well, of course, Trump would not only say if he was tested on the day of the first debate, he can't tell you if he knows who the Proud Boys are or QAnon. But he knows that they are very fine people, very fine. On the rest of the menu, the full D.C. appeals court will once again take up the House of Representatives' bid to force Don McGahn to appear before Congress. Some think it might be a moot point because the soonest that he could appear is in February, but hey, the wheels of justice sometimes move slow, don't they? Illinois defended its plan to extradite white supremacist darling Kyle Rittenhouse to Wisconsin for murder. Yeah, they're fighting extradition for this kid. When I say they, yeah, the whole of the right wing. It's almost like a conspiracy. And a group of black scholars launched a new project to combat misleading information online around voting, reparations, and immigration. Pretty much, because Ice Cube doesn't know how to read. He doesn't. After the break, we move to the chef's table, where European police and the FBI busted an international money laundering ring of cyber criminals, and it couldn't have come too soon. Couldn't have. Really couldn't have. Oh, and the investigation of an Egyptian state-owned bank that illegally contributed to Trump's 2016 campaign has mysteriously been shut down. Mysteriously. All that and more on West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Bon appetit. Bottom of our homepage at netrootsradio.com. To the rightish of the page is our chat room link monitored by Kelly Lincoln. Thank you, Kelly. To the leftish of the chat room link that's near the bottom of our homepage at netrootsradio.com is the link to our Patreon page. And if you could, please become a recurring Patreon of Netroots Radio. If you could afford, say how about an espresso type coffee drink, if you could send those funds our way, we will stretch those dollars, pay our bills, fly under the radar, continue resisting as the founders originally intended, and your generosity will have allowed us to fulfill our civic duty. And we thank those who have been so generous over all these many years, and we thank those of you who are considering possibly being generous as well in this time of peril. Just remember, the red wave will plague you. The blue wave will cleanse it all. Indeed. If you would like to follow Netroots Radio on Twitter, you can do so at Netroots Radio. Tom takes care of that and so much more. Thank you, Tom. I, of course, take care of at Justice Putnam on Twitter, and you could go ahead and follow me there because I post the show notes and links diary on Daily Codes about 10 minutes before showtime, and then I get that linked up on social media, hopefully before the show starts. Sometimes I do it during the little stitch at the top. Sometimes. And if you would like to follow the show on Twitter, it is at Cookbook West, and pick up podcasts by way of Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeart, YouTube, iTunes, etc., etc., etc. Okay, Gunner, the English Bulldog, is snoozing because he is the snoozing sous chef. He works so hard during the day, I got to tell you. So, I let him sleep in. He's a great dog. I love him so much. Okay, let's get into this first offering here about Don McGahn. Boy, they are sure trying to keep John Dean. They're trying to keep another John Dean from happening. I don't think McGahn would ever do that because this guy's too much of a player. This offering here in the Bistro Cafe is out of the Associated Press by Mark Sherman. The full federal appeals court in Washington, D.C. said it will once again take up the House of Representatives' bid to force former White House counsel Don McGahn to appear before Congress. But arguments won't be held until late February, and the issue is whether the House has authority under the Constitution or federal law to ask courts to enter a subpoena against an executive branch official. Well, I suppose the Republicans will be on board for it then, don't you think? A 3-judge panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit ruled 2-1 in August that the House lacks such authority. One of the judges in the August majority, Thomas Griffith, has since retired and was testifying in support of Amy Coney Barrett's Supreme Court nomination shortly after his former court issued its order. Thursday marked the second time that the full appeals court threw out the panel's ruling. The panel initially ruled that judges have no role to play in the subpoena fight between the House and Trump over the testimony of high-ranking administration officials. It's not clear whether the House next year would even still want to hear from McGahn, whose testimony has been sought as part of the House's investigation of potential obstruction of justice by Trump during Special Counsel Robert Mueller's Russia investigation. I should just remind folks that if a crime has been committed, bringing those criminals to justice is not a partisan effort. It is an American imperative. Anonymous worker bees at the Associated Press bring us this next offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy Blue Moon Spirits Fridays. Any claims about what happened in Wisconsin have no role in whether to extradite an Illinois teenager to that state to face charges in the killing of 2 protesters, prosecutors said yesterday, Thursday. The state's attorney in Lake County, Illinois, filed a response to Kyle Rittenhouse's attorneys who were trying to stop him from being transferred to Kenosha, Wisconsin. A court hearing is scheduled for the 30th of October. Rittenhouse, age 17, is accused of fatally shooting 2 protesters and injuring another on 25 August during unrest over the police shooting of Jacob Blake, who is black. Rittenhouse, who is white, surrendered to police in his hometown, Antioch, Illinois. So let's be clear. The kid came across state lines with illegal weapons, killed protesters who were not. I'm telling you, I know the right wing says, oh, they were Antifa. No, they were citizens redressing their government. You know, one of the 5 basic freedoms that Amy Barrett couldn't remember? Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker signed a warrant to return Rittenhouse to Wisconsin after a request from Governor Tony Evers. The Illinois arrest citation had nothing to do with the governor's grant of extradition, nor is it relevant to this limited hearing on this matter, prosecutors said. Rittenhouse's attorneys said extraditing him would turn him over to the mob. No, the mob is in the White House. Oh, you're talking about the unruly mob that exists in a democracy? You mean like a jury is a mob? Prosecutors said circumstances of the shootings have no role in whether to transfer Rittenhouse across the state border. This is an extradition hearing. It bears repeating. An extradition hearing, the court filing said. If convicted of first-degree homicide, Rittenhouse would be sentenced to life in prison. Contreras of the us this final offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. A group of U.S. black scholars, activists, and writers has launched a new project to combat misleading information online around voting, reparations, and immigration, supporters announced today. And that would be Friday, of course. The newly formed National Black Cultural Information Trust seeks to counter fake social media accounts and Twitter trolls that often discourage black voters from participating in elections or seek to turn black voters against other communities of color. Jessica Ann Mitchell Iwoyor, and I apologize for butchering that name, the project's founder, said some dubious accounts behind the social media hashtag ADOS, A-D-O-S, which stands for American Descendants of Slaves, have urged black voters to skip the presidential election. Some accounts also use the hashtag to flame supposed divisions between African Americans and black immigrants from the Caribbean and Latin America. Most recently, some social media users have used the hashtag ADOS to blame Somali immigrants in Minneapolis for the May death of George Floyd rather than the police officer charged with killing him. The disinformation used to target black communities is cultural, she said, and it's cultural disinformation which uses cultural issues to infuse false information and cause confusion. Well, it looks like, was it Facebook that took down a bunch of fake accounts that came out of Russia purporting to be black people from the ADOS movement? Members of the National Cultural Information Trust plan to monitor social media posts and flag those spreading misleading and fake stories. Some social media accounts are using digital blackface, she said, posing as black users when they aren't real, or resurrecting old accounts that haven't tweeted in 4 years to spread false information about where to vote or where a candidate stands on issues. You know, like when an account gets reactivated. A Russian bot account, possibly, eh? Now, the group plans to use crowdsourcing, website tools that show if accounts have troll-like behavior, and scholars on standby to counter any claims about slavery or voting. Through its website, the project will direct users to discussions and stories around black voting and U.S. reparation supporters who reject xenophobic rhetoric and push coalition building with black immigrants and Latinos. Indeed. Well, we'll get that link up, at least on the show notes and links diary for West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Now, we better get to our break, and when we get back from that break, we will go through weather from around the world, and we will finish up with the stories that we have curated for you today. You are listening to West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, and we will be right back.
You are listening to netrootsradio.com.
Please hang up and try again.
From a point at sea to the circles of your mind, a new force is at work for planetary transformation. New radio for a new Earth.
This is Take Two Movie Review. I'm Clinton Johnston. This week, Context. All In, The Fight for Democracy is a new and timely documentary featuring Stacey Abrams, fresh from her 2018 run for governor of Georgia against the eventual winner, Brian Kemp. A race much watched, as Abrams was the first African-American woman to run for governor under the aegis of a major party. I found out about All In from an article in which the author claimed that the film was weakened by its tangents into American voting history. And it's for moments such as this one that African-Americans have coined a useful phrase: you have got to be out of your goddamn mind. Directors Lisa Cortez and Liz Garbus have not made a film about Stacey Abrams. They have used Abrams' failed run as a core narrative in a film about American voter suppression. It's a tight, effective illustration of what we all should have learned in school, that the history of America is, from its inception, a history of power seekers keeping a whole bunch of people from voting. And if you don't look at Jim Crow and poll taxes and literacy tests and anti-voter terrorism, then you don't get why so much of the classic civil rights struggles were about registration and access to polls. And you need all that to get the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which you need in order to understand the tragedy of the Supreme Court gutting it in 2013 by its decision in Shelby County versus Holder, a gutting that directly allowed for Brian Kemp Georgia's Secretary of State, a man who remained in charge of administering the very election that he was running in, to engage in a slew of voter suppression tactics that silenced hundreds of thousands of Georgia voters. The strength of All In, the fight for democracy, is how it gives us the context we need to understand that Georgia's gubernatorial tragedy is part of our larger story, that of a democracy that suffers its most severe attacks from within. This has been Take Two Movie Review. I'm Clinton Johnston. Catch up with us at TakeTwoMovieReview.com and feed us back on our channel on YouTube.
This is Scientific American's 60-Second Science. I'm Suzanne Bard. All domestic dogs belong to a single species that descended from wolves, despite vast differences in size, appearance, behavior, and temperament among breeds. While dogs first became domesticated tens of thousands of years ago, the breeds we know today are largely the result of selection for certain traits by humans over the past several hundred years.
We have an enormous amount of diversity within the same species, and we can rarely observe such diversity in nature. So it's a wonderful system to understand how evolution works within a short period of time.
Evolutionary biologist Laszlo Garamszegi of the Institute of Ecology and Botany in Hungary. He says that our playing with dogs is a key component of the human-canine bond. But breeds vary in their degree of playfulness. For example, a breed called the Vizsla is very playful.
On the other hand, the Chihuahua doesn't like to play at all. Of course, you can train a little bit, but the average level of playfulness will be always lower than in the Hungarian Vizsla.
Garamszegi and his colleagues analyzed the playfulness of more than 89,000 purebred dogs across 132 breeds, from Pomeranians to Great Danes. The dogs were all given a test measuring their degree of enthusiasm for a game of tug-of-war with people.
We were interested in whether breeds could be distinguished by their average level of playfulness, and what are the evolutionary forces that makes different breeds behave differently.
The researchers found that after controlling for the degree of genetic relatedness between breeds, dogs bred for herding and sporting were more playful on average than dogs that had been selected for other purposes, like the non-sporting and toy breeds.
For some functions like hunting or herding, you need trainable dogs and a very strong owner-dog relationship. So if you have a playful dog, it's easy to train. One way to train a dog is to play with the dog.
By tracing playfulness back genetically through canine evolution, the researchers showed that the ancestors of today's dogs already possessed an intermediate level of playfulness.
So this was one of the traits that was also important during the process of domestication.
Selective breeding often amplified the trait.
But some breeds, like the toy dogs, they actually lost some of this playfulness.
Toy breeds were originally meant to be fashion accessories for the aristocracy, so playfulness could be a liability.
They need to match with your clothes, they need to match with your traveling habits, but they do not need too much attention. And in this particular situation, if you have a playful dog, it just creates a problem for you.
The study is in the journal Biology Letters. The research could help people choose the optimal pet for their family, but ultimately,
if you want to train your dog, you have to play a lot with your dog.
Thanks for listening. For Scientific American's 60-Second Science, I'm Suzanne Bard.
Hi, I'm Tom Hartman, and since you're listening to netrootsradio.com, show your progressive side and go to the donate button on the bottom of the homepage. It's progressives like you who power Netroots Radio and keep the progressive message beaming everywhere 24 hours a day. Just go to our donate button at the bottom of netrootsradio.com. Thank you for keeping progressive radio at full power.
Sometimes I don't know whether to weep uncontrollably, laugh hysterically, or just throw up. I recently did all three when I saw another gusher of greed pouring out of corporate America. This one is especially nauseating, given today's raging health crisis, for the culprits are major healthcare corporations. One perpetrator is Larry Merlo, CEO of our country's largest drugstore chain, CVS. In this time of COVID-19, customers are surging into the chain's 10,000 stores for everything from medications to masks. Yet, the boss has blithely left many of the pharmacies so severely understaffed that they pose a danger to public health. CVS pharmacists tell of frantically scrambling to keep up with filling prescriptions, answering ever-ringing phone inquiries, giving shots and COVID tests, stocking toilet paper, tending the drive-thru, etc., while also having to meet ceaseless corporate demands for cost-cutting and more profit. The result has been a dangerous work overload, with many pharmacists handling nearly 200 prescriptions in a 6-hour shift, about one every 2 minutes. Unsurprisingly, there's been an alarming rise in serious errors and week-long delays in providing critical medications for customers. Adding to the exasperation of local managers, who are allowed no say in staffing, is the infuriating level of heedless greed at the top. The New York Times reports that while CEO Merlo has failed to fund the staff his pharmacies need, he has generously funded his own needs. He paid himself $36.5 million last year alone. Then there's the mountain of interest payments and fees that CVS is paying to Wall Street bankers and lawyers who engineered Merlo's takeover of the Aetna health insurance giant last year. This is Jim Hightower saying, so while you're being underserved at a local CVS, just remember that bossman Merlo and his merger mercenaries are making a killing.
Need an antidote to the progressive blues? Want some good news about how grassroots folks are rebelling against the corporate powers and winning? Well, here's an easy-to-swallow pill for you, the Hightower Lowdown. Hightower's monthly newsletter will give you the lowdown, even as it lifts you up. It's 4 pages a month, jam-packed with facts you can use, actions you can take, and Jim's own Texas humor, all for only $15 a year. To become a lowdowner, go to hightowerlowdown.org.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1979. That was the day that the United Nations established the idea of holding an annual World Food Day. The aim of the day is to bring global attention to the problem of hunger and build international solidarity to fight the problem. The first World Food Day was observed 2 years later. One feature of the day is a teleconference that brings together some of the world's top experts in the field of agriculture, nutrition, and human rights. Each year, a different theme is chosen for the day. For the first 2 years, the theme was simple: food comes first. In 1984, the chosen theme was women in agriculture. Women were again the focus in 1998 with the theme Women Feed the World. In 1986, the day featured fishermen and fishing communities. Small farmers were the theme in 1987, and in 2014, the theme was family farming, feeding the world, caring for the earth. That year, the United Nations declared 2014 International Year of Family Farming. A UN report found that 500 million family farms make up over 98% of farming holdings, and were responsible for at least 56% of agricultural production. In the United States, family farmers produced 84% of all produce. The website for the 2014 World Food Day in the United States and Canada recognized the importance of family farm workers. It stated, quote, "And yet, despite their critical importance, a large majority of family farmers are among the world's most vulnerable populations. Ironically, it's not uncommon for many of the families who produce food to actually go hungry themselves." Today, on World Food Day, take a moment and thank a farmer.
I read the news today, oh boy.
It's time for Nicole Sandler's What's News from NicoleSandler.com and the Progressive Voices Network.
Instead of debate number 2 Thursday night, Joe Biden and Donald Trump faced off in competing town hall events at the same time on different networks. The difference between the two men, their styles and substance, could not be any starker. In Miami, in the same spot where NBC hosted Joe Biden for a similar event last week, Savannah Guthrie actually pressed the incumbent to clarify a few issues, including his Twitter habits.
Just this week, you retweeted to your 87 million followers a conspiracy theory that Joe Biden orchestrated to have SEAL Team 6, the Navy SEAL Team 6, killed to cover up the fake death of bin Laden. Now, why would you send a lie like that to your followers? You retweeted
That was a retweet. That was an opinion of somebody, and that was a retweet. I'll put it out there. People can decide for themselves. I don't take a position.
You're not like someone's crazy uncle who can just retweet whatever.
That was a retweet, and I do a lot of retweets. And frankly, because the media is so fake and so corrupt, if I didn't have social media, I wouldn't be able to get the word out. And the word is false. And you know what?
Trump continued to downplay the coronavirus. He wouldn't confirm whether he took a COVID test before the first debate, wouldn't say when his last negative test was, and basically hedged, dodged, and lied his way through the hour. One shocking but not surprising moment came when Trump refused to denounce QAnon.
Let me ask you about QAnon. It is this theory that Democrats are a satanic pedophile ring and that you are the savior of that. Now, can you just once and for all state that that is completely not true and that disavow QAnon in its entirety?
I know nothing about QAnon.
I just told you.
I know very little. You told me, but what you tell me doesn't necessarily make it fact. I hate to say that. I know nothing about it. I do know they are very much against pedophilia. They fight it very hard, but I know nothing about it.
They believe it is a satanic cult run by the deep state.
Study the subject. I'll tell you what I do know about. I know about Antifa, and I know about the radical left, and I know how violent they are and how vicious they are. What I do hear about it is they are very strongly against pedophilia, and I agree with that. I mean, I do agree with that, and I agree with it very strongly.
But there's not a satanic pedophile cult being run by.
I know nothing about that.
You don't know that? Okay.
No, I don't know.
There was definitely a less combative vibe over on NBC where Joe Biden in Philadelphia patiently answered questions from voters with a little help from George Stephanopoulos. Biden did take every opportunity to criticize Trump's inaction on COVID response while trying to explain how he'd do better, starting with wearing a mask.
No matter whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, they matter. And when a president doesn't wear a mask or makes fun of folks like me when I was wearing a mask for a long time, then, people say, well, it mustn't be that important. But when a president says, I think this is very important, I think it matters what we say.
In one perfect example of contrast, while Trump was refusing to denounce QAnon on NBC, Biden was on ABC talking about renewable energy and climate change.
The biggest carbon sink in the world is the Amazon. More carbon absorbed from the air, diminishing global warming in the Amazon than all the carbon emitted on a yearly basis from the United States of America, from all vehicles and all means. So we have to use our imaginations. We have to move in the direction as well, providing for electric vehicles. Electric vehicles will save billions of gallons of oil, create estimated 1 million automobile jobs. But we're lagging, we're not investing. We're not doing any of the research.
When pressed, Joe Biden also said that he will offer a clear position on expanding the number of Supreme Court justices before Election Day, saying, quote, I have not been a fan of court packing. It depends on how this turns out, not how he wins, but how it's handled. Now, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell on Thursday basically shut down the Trump administration's request to go big on a stimulus proposal before Election Day. He said he will not consider any stimulus package over $1.8 trillion and in fact said, I don't want to spend more than $500 billion. We'll vote on that. Well, when asked about this issue, Trump said he was negotiating with Pelosi.
Back in early October, you one day tweeted, no more negotiations until after Election Day. I'm walking away. Then I think the next couple of days you said maybe we can do something targeted. Then you said I want a big, big bill. But then Senate Republicans said, no, we're not for that. So you're the big deal maker. How come this is so, you yourself have changed positions?
Did you ever hear of a word called negotiation? We're negotiating, okay? And you know who I'm negotiating against? Nancy Pelosi, because she doesn't want to give the money.
Yes, the art of the deal guy, the great negotiator. It has been a year since he's spoken to the Speaker of the House. The last time Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi spoke was October 16th, 2019 when she walked out of the negotiating room after he called her a third-rate politician. And that's just a bit of what's news for now. I'm Nicole Sandler. If you appreciate these reports and the Nicole Sandler Show, I hope you'll consider making a contribution. My work is 100% listener supported, and I can't do it without your help. Find out more at NicoleSandler.com, and please click on that donate button.
Thank you for accompanying us here to the chef's table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, Blue Moon Spirits Fridays, because we are all Nighthawks in the diner of life. We always begin, whether from around the world, along the banks of the Rogue River, in the Rogue River Valley of Southern Oregon on the west coast of the continental United States of America, where it is currently 42 degrees Fahrenheit. There is still a frost advisory in the area, though at the mothership proper, we are doing okay, thankfully. I still have some tomatoes to blush before I pull them out of the ground, indeed. Well, we are expecting a high of around 80 today, considerably warmer than yesterday. Some clouds this morning will give way generally to sunny skies in the afternoon. Winds will be light and variable. Generally clear tonight with a low in the mid-40s, with winds still remaining light and variable. And a few clouds early tomorrow, otherwise mostly sunny, with a high around, upper 70s. That'll be nice. Winds will continue to be light and variable. The confirmed cases of coronavirus in Jackson County in the southern part of Oregon have now spiked to 1,430, with 6 confirmed deceased. Ragweed pollen is moderate right outside the window here in Rogue River, the window of the mothership here in Rogue River. And that air quality index for the region is pretty darn good at 21 parts per million. And the daytime UV index is moderate for a fall-time range of 3. Barometric pressure is holding steady at 30.28 inches. Visibility, they say it's foggy in the area, though right here at the mothership it's quite clear, no overcast. But apparently on the other side of our protected ridge, visibility is down to 1.5 miles, and relative humidity is at 90%. Weather from around the world is brought to you by people's personal weather stations that they purchased. These people planted these purchased personal weather stations somewhere on their property, and these people positively live around the world. London is 55 and mostly cloudy. Paris is 55 and cloudy. Rome is 63 and partly cloudy. Kyiv is 54 and fair. Kabul is 62 and fair. Hong Kong is 75 and partly cloudy. Tokyo is 62 and cloudy. Sydney, Australia is 62 and cloudy. San Francisco, California is 70 degrees and sunny. And New York is 60 degrees Fahrenheit with rain. And that is weather from around the world, brought to you by people's personal weather stations that they purchased. These people planted these purchased personal weather stations somewhere on their property, and these people positively live around the world. Anonymous worker bees at the Associated Press bring us this first amuse-bouche here at the Chef's Table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy Blue Moon Spirits Fridays. European and American officials said yesterday, Thursday, that they have arrested 20 people in several countries for allegedly belonging to an international ring that laundered millions of euros stolen by cyber criminals through malware schemes. The international police operation Tuba Gold Mule, led by Portuguese investigators and the FBI, included 14 more European countries under the umbrella of Europol. Europol said that more than 40 homes were searched by agents in Spain, Italy, Bulgaria, and Latvia in the operation. Most of the houses searched were carried out in Latvia, where 6 arrests were made. Another 6 arrests were made in Britain, 4 in Spain, and 1 each in Portugal, Poland, the U.S., and Australia. The ring, QQAAZZ, allegedly laundered cyber criminal stolen funds, transferring them between hundreds of bank accounts held in banks across the world. The ring included citizens of Russia, Latvia, Georgia, Bulgaria, Romania, and Belgium. That's a lot of 400-pound guys on sofas, don't you think? The ring laundered money stolen from victims in the U.S. and European countries. The suspects face criminal investigations in the U.S., Portugal, Spain, and the U.K. This operation has shown that through this cooperation, we can collectively tackle the global nature of cybercrime. This is the only way forward, said Carlos Cabrero, director of Portugal's National Unit for Fighting Cybercrime.
Je te donne ce mon amour pour la vie entière. La promesse de me trouver à tes genoux. Aussitôt que tu m'appelles, rester toujours fidèle. C'est tout, c'est tout. Je te donne tous mes printemps, mes étés de mer. Mes automnes, quand les feuilles tombent partout. Si ce n'est pas une bonne affaire, je te donne tous mes hivers.
Anonymous worker bees at Alternate bring us this final amuse-bouche here at the Chef's Table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. For the last 3 years, federal prosecutors have been conducting a secret investigation to determine whether or not millions of dollars flowing from an Egyptian state-owned bank could have illegally contributed to Trump's 2016 presidential victory. However, now that investigation has mysteriously been shut down. This week, the investigative probe was confirmed by a Justice Department senior official who shared details with CNN. According to the DOJ official, the investigation was closed in July. The case was first looked at by the special counsel investigators who failed to bring a case, and then it was looked at by the U.S. Attorney's Office and career prosecutors in the National Security Section, who also were unable to bring a case. Based on the recommendations of both the FBI and those career prosecutors, Michael Sherwin, the acting U.S. attorney, formally closed the case in July. The acting. In a September court filing, the Justice Department confirmed that an ongoing foreign campaign contribution investigation was transferred to D.C. prosecutors after U.S. Department of Justice Robert Mueller's office was shut down in July of 2019. At one point, the extensive top-secret investigation was so confidential that a full floor inside a Washington, D.C. federal courthouse was blocked off so Mueller's team could carry out investigative proceedings. While investigators still have not confirmed whether or not they had legitimate evidence to confirm the bank transfer from the Egyptian bank, insiders have suggested otherwise. It has also been reported that there were questions concerning a last-minute campaign contribution to Trump's 2016 campaign. Trump himself reportedly contributed $10 million to his own campaign, and where did he get it? The sizable donation was the single largest contribution to the campaign, and Trump could not be reimbursed for it. However, investigators had qualms about the donation and where it may have originated from. Well, indeed. All right, that brings us to the end of our broadcast period for the day and the week. But you do know Netroots Radio will broadcast on, and we're going to meet up on Monday for River City Hash Mondays. So do stay tuned to Netroots Radio all day, all night, and all weekend for all the breaking news as it breaks. And we'll meet up here on Monday, right here in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Appétit.
Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théières, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ma fleur sous la pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte Goël. Je voudrais toujours te plaire dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je veux déjeuner par terre, comme au long de golfe clair. T'embrasser les yeux ouverts dans mon jardin d'hiver. Pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum. 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 Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum. 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 Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Dans mon jardin d'hiver.